Our next speaker and brave cast member tonight is Annalise. She is a South Carolina transplant from Florida and will be sharing a story about her experiences with chronic depressive disorder and anxiety. She currently has the joy of working with students at Presbyterian College as Assistant Director of Student Involvement and spends her limited free time as a blogger, artist, and crazy cat lady and dog mom. Through a combination of This Is My Brave and working with college students, Annalise recently signed to a speaking agency for College for Life as a mental health speaker. So we are privileged to hear her speak tonight. Welcome, Annalise.
Ever since I can remember, I've never been alone. I've always had this voice whispering unsweet nothings in the back of my mind. Things like, you'll never be good enough, you're bringing everyone else down, or you should just kill yourself. At times, I could silence the voice for a few hours, or if I was really lucky, for a few days. But it always came back. I grew to accept this voice as normal and simply gave it a home in my everyday life. However, as I got older, the voice started to grow louder. It fed off of my insecurities. It wasn't until I got to college that the voice became so loud that I couldn't tune it out anymore. It screamed at me, "Nobody wants you here, you are a failure." I became desperate for peace, for a moment of silence. The only way out seemed like taking my own life. Like the perfectionist that I am, I planned everything. My method was prepped. My apartment was cleaned to a T as to make sure that nobody would have to bother with it. And I wrote a letter to each of my loved ones explaining my rationale. However, my plan had one flaw. I had recently gotten a kitten to help cheer me up. As Rebecca said earlier, I am a crazy cat lady. And although I was at peace with taking my own life, I could not stand the idea of this kitten being neglected for days. No one ever said suicide was rational. So I drove to my parents' house, kitten in tow, to leave her so she would have someone to care for her. And to my surprise and hers, I ran into my mother, who had come home early that day. I prepared the mask that I had worn for so long, the perfect daughter, the perfect sister, always happy and pulled together. But I couldn't hold on to that mask any longer, and soon it began to crack and then shatter. For the first time, I told my mother how I felt, that I had struggled to find a purpose to live, to find hope in the face of despair. Soon after, I saw my first therapist and started getting better. 7 doctors and 2 diagnoses and countless pills later, I rarely hear that ugly voice anymore. Some days it does speak up and begin to tear down the walls I've built around it. But on those days, I look down at the silver ring on my thumb, the ring that my mother gave me soon after that fateful day. Etched into it are 4 little letters and 1 very big word. That big word reminds me every day that things will be okay. That word is hope. Through the depression and the anxiety, the shame and the fear, I will never lose hope, just like my mother never lost hope in me. And that is the story of how a cat saved my life.